Alrighty, guys and gals. I hope your season is going well. We're about halfway through. Thanks for sticking with the show. Make sure you go to sportingchancepod.com to get some Sporting Chance merch. New stuff coming soon. What we have up there is limited, and once it's gone, it's gone. Casey, are your Goshawks still alive?
Yeah, surprisingly.
Well, if your goshawk is not alive, make sure you go to North Mountain Goshawks. Holla at our boy Seth Roy to put a deposit on next year's hunting partner. Casey, how's your gear holding up?
It's holding up good because it's from Midnight Falconry, the tightest braided equipment on the market. Visit midnightfalconry.com.
Casey, old boy, tell you what, I'm wearing out my squirrel chaps.
I'm sure you are.
Or as Joseph Carter would say, squirrel chaps. That's why I need to hop on to mountainstatefalconrysupply.com and order some new ones. You know, the best thing about that is...
What is that?
The customer service and the speed of shipping, baby.
What I'm talking about.
Heather's probably reading my mind right now, and they're probably going to show up tomorrow.
Your new chaps?
Chaps.
Chaps, that's right. Forgive me.
Casey, are you sick of your dogs this season?
We have good days and bad days.
I have been running the brakes off my dogs this season. I can't imagine doing falconry without my dogs. So if you do not have a dog, go to Clover Creek Canine on Facebook and talk to friend of the show, Sean O'Neill, about getting a new hunting partner.
Good idea. Can't go wrong. All right, everybody. Little public service announcement. We are killing it. We see the downloads. We can see everything behind the scenes, how many of you guys are listening and enjoying. The YouTube is, nobody really listens there, but if you could listen there or at least go and subscribe the Sporting Chance podcast Facebook page and YouTube page, we'd appreciate it. Also, little thing for you guys to jump in on. If you leave us a 5-star review on whatever your preferred podcast platform is, we will send you a sticker in the mail. Now, obviously, we have a lot of listeners, so we can't send full sticker packs or anything crazy, but we will send you a sticker, and we appreciate the support. And if you leave a 5-star review, send a screenshot to the Sporting Chance podcast Instagram, or even me on my main Instagram, NJ Falconry. I will make sure that we get a sticker out to you ASAP. Appreciate it, guys. Now enjoy this episode.
Okay, everybody, welcome to the Sporting Chance podcast. Today we are joined by West Virginia Falconer Jason Caldwell. Jason, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Not a problem, man. I don't know if you remember me, but several years ago, me and a friend of mine came to your house and picked up a Harris Hawk.
Who was that?
Her name was Shauna.
How many years ago?
It was a while ago, and you breed Harris Hawks, so I'm sure you've had plenty of people stop by.
Yeah, I've had a lot of people stop by.
So let's start from the beginning here. You are, I believe you're from Maryland originally, right?
Correct. Yeah. Well, I was born in Tennessee. I only lived there 2 years, and then family moved to Baltimore. I was actually raised in Baltimore. Even after college, I went back to Baltimore for, 6 years, and then moved to West Virginia in 2003.
So I was actually born in West Virginia, but what brought you there?
Long story short, my grandfather was a pastor. My father was a pastor. My grandfather was old school. He don't quit ever. And so he developed Alzheimer's, and we kind of had to take him out of there, if you will. We needed to take him, new scenery, new everything. So the whole family just I decided I was going to leave about 6 months ahead, and it all worked out. The family went together, bought a farm. This was closest to the VA for him. So, so we all kind of just moved back. My grandfather and my dad were both born in West Virginia, so it kind of did a full circle.
Gotcha. And when did you start doing falconry?
I've been around it my whole life. My dad skipped 8th grade English one day and went and hid in the library from the teacher and found a book on falconry in the 8th grade. And so he started reading about it. So when I came along, Dad was married at 19. I'm the first of 5 kids, oldest of 5. Dad always read me stories about it. He had a little chest that had real old books in it. He had old hoods, leashes, old Calum gloves. He'd collected a lot of stuff, but when he tried to get into it, it was back in the 60s that he didn't know anybody. It was only a handful of people that did it. So I was raised around it. But Dad kind of put it in his mind that he'd never be able to do it. He just kind of collected stuff about it. And when I became a teenager, I was one of those, it was one of those weird childhoods. Most people read Sesame Street. My dad read me like I was the oldest and I'm the only boy. There's 4 girls after me. So Dad and I were really close and we hunted and trapped and everything together. So Dad'd be like, okay, tonight before you go to bed, son, we're going to read Death in the Long Grass. And so he'd read about some, capstick or some guy that was hunted in Africa 100 years ago and how some leopard mauled him and then killed the tracker. And then he finally, and then he'd say, pleasant dreams. Maybe we'll see you in the morning, So, nice. Yeah. So the fire was in me from all kinds of, I love predators, everything but sharks. I don't like sharks.
Same. But, me too.
Yeah, I'm not a shark guy. And I'm not the segue, but that comes from Dad taking us beach fishing, surf fishing when I was about 5. And then watching the sharks get brought in up on the bank, and this guy had a Reese hitch with a chair that hooked into the back, and because otherwise it'd pull you in the water. And then later in the summer we'd go back there to swim, and I'm like, I'm only 5, and I'm like, time out. Isn't this the same beach where we pulled the sharks in on? Like, oh no, I'm not swimming in this. So, but yeah, I've always loved predators, whether it's whatever it is. But birds of prey were always. Yeah. And so when I guess I trained my first bird when I was 15, maybe.
And were you licensed when you did that?
No.
Gotcha.
What was the bird?
Do what?
What was the bird you trained?
I found a red-shouldered hawk under a nest, and I trained it according to the book. It was actually a great bird, except it was an imprint. And, oh, man, an imprint red-shouldered hawk can scream like it's horrible. But anyway, it was, I had it for a while. And then a guy, actually an evangelist, came through our church, and he was a falconer from like 1962. He'd sent in like $3 in the mail and he'd send his permit back to him. I think he was from Kentucky. And he had a NAFA directory and something else. I can't remember what else he had, but he kind of steered me in the right direction and said, hey, you've done a good job with the bird, but you're not licensed. You need to do something with that. So I actually contacted the Baltimore Zoo, and they took it and used it in flight demos and everything. So I transferred it to them. And then because he had a directory, it helped me kind of find people. So I found a guy, which couldn't sponsor me, but found another guy, and there it was. It kind of snowballed from there. And I took it from there and then kept rolling.
So you were, if I understand correctly, sponsored by Floyd Pressley?
No. I had more of a paper sponsor. The guy was a nice guy. I appreciate him taking me on, but he was a coworker of another falconer, and the falconer talked about falconering all the time at work, and it kind of gave him the bug. So he got licensed, but he was more of he just kept birds. First time I went hunting with him, I was so excited because here we are hunting with an actual bird of prey, and we hunted like 20 minutes, and he said, I'm going to call it a day. Well, I've been raised, you go in the woods in the morning in a tree stand, you don't leave till dark. I didn't know till you were 18 years old, you can actually leave the woods and eat lunch. We hunted all day, hardcore. So I kind of just started self-teaching myself, and I have big squirrels here. And so I needed a larger bird. And so that was around the time that Brewer's book came out. So I was looking at that, and then everyone I talked to in Maryland said, hey, if you want a big female, you need a ridge bird, and Floyd Presley's the guy to hook up with. So I did, and we became instant friends. And so he was my mentor, but he wasn't my sponsor.
Gotcha. So Floyd Presley, for those of you who don't know, was a Maryland falconer, correct, Jason?
Yes.
Maryland falconer. Him and his son Marvin have been doing it a long time. I actually sold a puppy to Marvin, and Marvin said technically Marvin did falconry first, like a year or so before Floyd.
I do know that Floyd and his brothers, he had two brothers, Hank and Jimmy. I know back in the 60s, they were so gung-ho about it. They were doing things that they weren't told you couldn't. So they were all younger guys, and they kept all their red tails perched together. So they would fly 3 red tails in a cast. I mean, they didn't know you weren't allowed. So a lot of them went by feel of the keel. So I know all the birds were kind of heavy anyway, but they did. I tell you, everyone has different stories about different people, and there's some great guys out there. But to be honest with you, Floyd was he was a force of nature, number one, but he was a whisperer. I mean, there was not only in birds of prey, but honestly, he was one of those guys that would sit with you in the blind. There's a difference between cockiness and confidence, huge difference. And he wasn't bragging, he was just sharing information, but a monarch butterfly could fly by, and an hour later, he'd still be giving you facts. I remember thinking, does he have an earbud in his ear? Who's giving him this information? You can't know this much stuff. He knew about plants and medicines and Indian and bark on trees. And the guy averaged 300 squirrels a year rifle shooting with iron sights. This is no telescopics, just iron sights. He would rabbit hunt before birds of prey. He would rabbit hunt with his beagles. Shotguns got too easy, so he started using a Ruger Mark II pistol. And so he would point shoot him. And if he didn't head shoot him, he was mad with himself because he hit it in the body, not the head. I'm going to tell you something. When you can head shoot a rabbit on the run, you're smoking. And he first would say this kind of stuff, and then I'm thinking, yeah, okay, whatever. And then you'd see old 16 millimeter footage, when he went out west and stuff, and he's counting pheasants and rabbits hanging on, and they're like 30 and 40 head of game hanging on a fence. And you're like, this dude ain't lying. He killed everything that moved. He was just a hunting machine. But I can't even tell you everything. He forgot more than I know. No doubt about it.
My sponsor, Bob Pendergrass, told me, Bob, like you, was he had got his hands on a couple birds of prey when he was a teenager before he was licensed. And then he got his license in North Carolina as soon as the sport was legalized in the early 80s. And prior to that, he went out with Floyd, and he said that Floyd was the first person that ever let him hold a falconry bird. So they were walking through a field, and Floyd said, "Bob, would you like to hold my hawk?" And it was a Harris hawk, and he had a hood on it. And he had told Bob the importance of not letting the bird fly away when it has the hood on. He said, just because it has a hood on doesn't mean it won't fly, and that to hold tight, don't let go, because if it flies away with the hood on, there's a significant chance that it's going to fly away, get lost, and die because it has a hood on. And Bob imparted that on me and made me very careful with birds that are hooded.
Yeah. Floyd was everything he did, every knot he tied. Everything he did was for a reason. I can remember my father and I would trap with him on the ridge, and I kept a little notepad in my pocket. When he would go out to change the upbird, I'd pull the notepad out and jot things down, and my dad would laugh, and he'd say, "Are you writing notes on what he said?" I said, "Are you kidding me? What he just said was gold. I am not forgetting that." And so a lot of people thought he was hard. If he didn't like you, he didn't like you. But he had an uncanny ability of seeing someone that was worth investing in, and then he would. But a lot of people got their feelings hurt from him because I would just tell him, hey, he's not being mean. What he said to you, was he right? Well, yeah, but so if he was right, he was trying to help you. Why would he waste his time, if he wasn't trying to help you? So he was just really good at imparting knowledge, and he was a hardcore hawker. There's, as we all know, there's hawkers and talkers, but he was really hardcore, and Marvin was too. In fact, the whole family. In fact, I think Marvin holds the record on the East Coast for rabbits in a year. I don't think Marvin would ever say that, but I'm pretty sure it was like.
What do you think it is?
I think it was 168 or 172, something like that. That's one bird, one season.
What do you think, Casey?
I think in Maryland, that's very possible in Maryland. They got some of the easiest rabbits down there.
Have you ever heard, Casey, have you ever heard Teddy talk about Marvin?
Yeah, she's talked about him, and all those guys are like legends in the sport.
Marvin lives in the border of West Virginia and Maryland, I think.
Yeah,
right?
he's about an hour from me. I saw him, I guess it's been maybe a year ago.
Yeah.
I bump into him every once in a while. He's not done a lot lately, other things, family and all that kind of stuff came in, but he's a great guy.
I agree. So you got into falconry, and was this when you were in Baltimore in that area?
Yeah. In fact, I got licensed. In fact, my dad was so excited that I finally found someone that we could actually have an inroads in, that my dad tested right after I did. So even though he was the guy that got me into it, I kind of I passed it before he did. We dove in together, and then we hawked together a long, long time. And I learned. Everyone again has opinions on what to fly, but we were getting, the small red tails that you catch along the road were getting kicked off bunnies. And I think the first season, with a small little male, we caught like 7 rabbits. I think I caught a woodcock and a pheasant. And we were hawking our brains out. I mean, I'd leave clothes in the snow, just because was hot, hawking in snow. And so we started getting larger ridge birds. And we finally, late 90s, we started getting some really big females. We wanted a couple of really big females to where we could really handle the game that we had. So, once we did that and figured that out, we never looked back.
So you weren't able to find any good sized females in the Baltimore area?
Yeah, we did. Well, we would drive. Actually, the best bird I ever flew, I caught BC trapping. And then the same season, about 3 weeks before, my father caught one on the ridge with Floyd, and he flew that bird 11 seasons. That was the best bird he ever flew. In fact, that's the best red tail I ever saw fly, hands down. She was an unbelievable bird. And then I caught one that was actually flew a little heavier than his. I flew her 19 seasons.
Wow.
She was a tremendous red tail. She flew at 52.5 ounces, and she was a pig, but she was also, his bird was real tall and slender, massive feet. And mine was more of a squatty, like a flat top, looked like it had a marine flat top on its head. It was real beefy. Their flight styles were different, but they flew close in weight. And that's why it's funny when someone says a red tail's a red tail. No, they're not. They're so diverse. My bird was very, I wouldn't say gentle. She was, but you could walk up and do whatever. Dad's bird was a beast. If you were not hawking her, she would foot you. She was a mean bird. But also, honestly, the best hunter I ever saw as far as a red tail goes, hands down.
One of those birds that does like defies physics in the tree. Is that what you're talking about? Yeah,
she was a real lanky. A lot of guys, and I don't want to go on a tangent here, but everyone has their opinion on red tails. I look for 3 things on red tails. And again, I'm not going to get into the big argument. A lot of guys, they like tweeners, or they like a male. They think they're fast, or this, that, and the other. And they think guys want to fly big females because it's some kind of status symbol. Where we live, I cannot fly a small red tail. I just can't. I caught a fox squirrel 2 weeks ago that weighed 960. That's average. 800 to 900 is average. I got a friend that's 30 minutes from me today, sent me a picture. He caught one that weighed 1020. So, I mean, I've caught several over 1200. The biggest fox squirrel I've ever caught on my books is 1310. And that's a big fox squirrel. And so you can't have smaller red tails. They just get chewed to ribbons. So 3 things I look for. I look for body size. I want a big, beefy bird. The bigger the muscle and the beef, the more they can squeeze, more power. Then I also want a bird that has big attitude. I like it when they're reckless and I don't care if they're mean to me. I want that confidence. And then I look for foot size. And I hardly ever meet anybody that ever measures feet. So I'll say, hey, what's the span on your bird? And they just look at me. And I'll say, have you ever measured it? Well, they got nice feet. I know what's the width. They just look at me. So I started measuring them years ago. Your average red tail's foot middle toe tip to the hallux talon tip is 4.25 to 4 3/4. That is an average red tail.
Now, is that male and female, or?
Well, you've got overlap there because you've got what your average red tail runs between 32 and 38 ounces. I think that's the average red tail weight. You could have a big male or a small female. So there's overlap there. Sometimes you can tell if it's a 37 ounce and the feet are really big, you would lean that it's a female, not a male, but not always. So there's in between. Sometimes you can have a smaller bird that has a really big foot, or a beefy bird size wise, but the feet are kind of thick toes, but they're short and squatty. So even though on average, a big bird has a bigger foot, just like a 6'5" man usually doesn't wear a 9 shoe normally. So I measure foot size. I like a bird that has a foot over 5.25 to 5.5. The red tail my dad flew was 6.25. It was just a massive foot. In fact, it looked funny on her body. And she knew how to use them too. In fact, it's the only bird we ever flew that she caught a gray squirrel, and she was parachuting down the side of a tree and grabbed another one in the fork of a tree. When we got to her, she had a squirrel in both feet. I've never seen that before. She was just a cougar with wings.
I was talking about that yesterday, that's one of the things I haven't done. And I would say it's possible, and you just confirmed it, is being in a situation where your bird grabs 2 squirrels. And is that the first and only time you've ever heard of that or seen that, Jason?
Yeah, I'd never seen that before. I'm sure it's happened. I'm sure things, in falconry, I mean, never say never with anything. But I do know, and again, I've flown males, and again, if you lived in Iowa and you fly just bunnies sure, you can take bunnies, and you can take even squirrels. A lot of people, they want to make the argument on red tail size. I knew a guy, I think it's been a year or two ago, he posted a picture. He took 5 squirrels in a day with his red tail. And by the way, that's great for any falconer. Great feat. Awesome. But I asked the guy, I said, weird question for you. Weigh all 5 of them squirrels and give me the average weight. Just do, add it up, divided by 5. What's the weight of the average squirrel you caught? And it was under 400 grams. But he was from the South, and the squirrels were smaller. And so you can get away with that. You're not taking 30 fox squirrels that weigh 1,200 grams in this state with a male. I'm sorry. It's not happening. It's just not happening. And a lot of guys want to make the argument, well, this bird killed 30 squirrels this season. And I'll say, yeah, but you didn't intermute it, did you? These same guys learned that they take a new bird every year, because the second year, the bird's like, I ain't doing this again. I'm not getting chewed to ribbons. It's not worth it. So every part of the country is different, and each part is different. So when someone says, what do you think works where? I say, listen, where are you at? Where are you flying? What are you flying on? All squirrels aren't the same. Our parts of the country aren't the same. Where the Colsons live, you got swamp rabbits that weigh 6-7 pounds. Here, cottontails are averaging 2 to 3. Jacks are 9, 10, 11 sometimes. So, all that varies, and so you want a big gun with, for what the game you have, but I'm sold on females because that's what I have to have here. And I don't think speed has anything to do with it. I've seen females do some amazing things, and say a male was just a tick quicker than a female. What good is it if he lost it 4 times when he caught it? That doesn't help you either. I want something when they grab it. That female dad flew, a fox squirrel would literally she'd land on the ground with it, and it would adjust itself and come up and bite into her foot. And she would just let it do it, like she's just watching it bite into her foot. Like, you enjoying yourself? I'm gonna give you 3 more seconds. And then she'd reach over the other foot and just run her hallux down through its skull. She was a killing machine. She didn't care if she got bit. She just didn't care.
And were these birds that you guys flew, the 2 that you're mentioning, were they released, or did they?
Dad's bird passed. I was actually cleaning a bath pan, and he was actually away. We were the same weathering yard. We've lived across the field from each other for a while now, over 20 years, same property. And so the birds were weathered together, and I was cleaning a bath pan, and she kind of made a weird gesture, almost like a loud shot behind you, like they shrugged their shoulders, like a sound would scare them. and almost like a quick seize. And I said, that was odd. And I looked at her again, and she literally just seized on the perch. And I think she was dead before she hit the ground. She fell off the high perch, and I think she just had a heart attack and died. My bird actually stroked on one side. My bird was older. When I caught my bird, and I won't make it a boring story, but when I caught my bird, it already had jesses on it, but no band. So someone had trained the bird. And
that's crazy.
Yeah, my father said, I've been seeing a really nice red tail on this high tension tower. I'm telling you, it has jesses on it. I said, really? He said, I'm telling you. I know it's a long ways, but I'm telling you it does. So he calls me, and he'd caught it with a BC trap, and actually it took the trap away. He was going to make a hospital call. He was in a suit, and he actually come back to the house and grabbed the trap and went and tossed it. The bird took the trap down through a blackberry patch, and he ruined his suit trying to get after the bird to catch it. It flew off with the trap. And so anyway, it weighed 58 when we got it. It was fat. And but the jesses were so old, the grommets were green, and the hunting jesses were straight. The leather, they were staying straight out. You couldn't even hardly bend them. So it'd been, I don't know, 2-3 years maybe. I think somebody had trapped it, trained it, and it had escaped. There was no band on the bird, so I don't know if it came from a state where they didn't require it. I think PA at the time did not require it, or someone had trained it illegally. So I contacted DNR, and they said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, I want to keep it. It's definitely been trained for falconry. And they said, yeah, go ahead. So its eyes, I have a picture of it the month I caught it. Its eyes were already dark. I don't know how long it was in captivity. I was going to say it was probably 5 or 6 when I got it, and I flew it another 19 seasons. So it was probably 26, maybe 27 when it died. But she stroked on one side, and I fed her for the next 7 days. She could just lay on one side. She'd barely take food in, and she just finally expired. But I bonded so well with her. I just couldn't let her go. She was one of those birds that literally, she knew what I was thinking. I mean, I can't even describe. I mean, she'd be 100 yards from me and turn and look at me. If I'd say, ho, one time, and she'd look at me, I could tap the tree and say, right here. And she'd come to that tree, and if there was a nest, she'd shred it. She knew what I was telling her. I mean, just, you almost expect her to answer you. You know, she was just that kind of bond. She was a great bird. Great bird.
That's an impressive amount of time you spent with that bird, and a crazy story. Casey, have you ever heard of that before?
Which part?
I don't know anyone who's had a red tail that long in America, but
19 seasons. Yeah, Paul. I forgot his last name. Now that I'm just thinking of it, Paul from Long Island, I think, or he might be from Jersey now. He flew one for like 20 plus seasons. That bird.
Yeah, there's some guys out there that have had him over 30 years.
Yeah, he was killing game nonstop. And you would see the bird would like act normal, but it would just kind of like its gas tank, you know, like it'd be good for an hour, some hard chases, and then after that you would see it just kind of like
that's true,
taking longer to ladder back up, and like because when he pulled it out, I'm like, oh, you can't even tell how old it is. And then as the hunt went on, you would see, all right, this is clearly an older bird. Like it just. Yeah.
Usually once you hit, and again, back to species and all that, but I think once a bird hits around 15, I think you can start seeing a difference in them. I'm not saying they can't keep living, but not only do they pick their shots because experience is there, but I think they slow down just like a human does. There's a difference in how they, and it may be 18 for some, but I've noticed 15 seems to be that mark. Somewhere in there that they start kind of acting a little bit different. I know the last 3 seasons I flew her, like Casey just said, she'd last about an hour, and she'd literally work her way back around to the truck and perch low over the truck and just look at me. She didn't move or anything. That was her way of saying, let's go home. I'm done. In fact, I remember the last squirrel she killed. It was a really good grab because I'd taken her out 2 or 3 times. I was working another red tail at the time. I'd really just take her out to exercise her. She didn't have the stamina that she used to have, but I wanted to let her fly anyway. And we were working this really smart squirrel on the side of this hill, like mountains in West Virginia, a big old oak, but a big fork up top. And this squirrel was really smart. It stayed 4 feet on the other side of this tree. Every time she'd come past it, it'd go the other side, just really, really smart. It wouldn't bail, wouldn't move. It's just, you're not getting that squirrel. And she kept making passes at it. And I finally said to her, come on, girl, you're not going to get that squirrel. And so she kept going around the left side. Then she'd go around the right side and the squirrel would just adjust on either side. But he was only about 4 inches from the fork on the bottom side. So the last time she went uphill on it, she came down again, and I kept trying to leave, but I can tell she wanted to work it. She came down the last time, and she didn't go around the tree. She went through the fork straight down over the top and peeled that sucker off face grab. And when she landed in the leaves with it, she looked at me, and I thought, I got you. You still got it. I got it. I got it. It was sweet.
And that, you said that was her last squirrel?
Yeah, that was her last squirrel.
Yeah.
It's frustrating. I'm sorry, Aaron. It's just frustrating when I flew a red tail for 8 seasons. And it is frustrating when you go from the first season to the later seasons where they will pick their shots, because it looks like they're being more, kind of like reserved, and it's a little frustrating. But it's like they do half as many movements for the same result, which is the squirrel in the bag.
Yeah.
And it's nice when they start to learn, like, you don't even really have to do much, and they just kind of get it.
Floyd used to have a Harris hawk. It was famous, named Elvis. And because Floyd's last name was Presley. So he named his bird Elvis. But it was funny because he had these young females that he'd bred. And I think Elvis had broken a wing at some point, and they wanted to pin it. And he said no, he let it heal it on its own. And whenever it flew, it lost a lot of speed. I think it was 33 when it died. But anyway, it was funny, like you just said, they'd kick up a rabbit, and these other Harrises would leave Elvis in the dust. They're burning after this rabbit, and he would take a perpendicular line straight away to the right, and that rabbit would turn all the way around, and the Harris is on the rear end, and he'd cut the corner and drill it in the head, and they'd hit it 3 seconds later. So his brains were just there, what he lacked in body, he had in mind.
There was a Facebook post I saw over the summer of this lady who had inherited her dad's red-tailed hawk in England, of course, where you could just buy a hawk. You don't need a license. Her dad passed away, and she inherited his hawk, and I'm assuming she just kept it as a pet, but it died after like 36 years, which I guess if you're willing to just feed a bird that's sitting in a aviary, that's probably not a huge deal, but long lifespans potentially.
Yeah.
So Floyd was known for, Teddy said that he introduced her to Harris hawks. And you breed Harris hawks. Is that primarily what you're flying now?
I fly the game I have. So I fly a Harris on rabbits, and I fly a red tail on squirrels. That's usually what I've dabbled with other things over the years, but that's the game I have. And so, I usually have, and I usually keep a bird in reserve. 2 is 1, 1 is none, or 3 is 1, 1 is none. I hate waiting until season comes in and you have an injury second weekend or something. I can't stand it.
I'm telling you, Jason, that's so underrated. And it's like, I got 4 goshawks right now because I went through a couple seasons where I lost one, and then I lost another. And then it's like you're scrambling because you have nothing to fly.
Yep.
Like, if you're a game hawker and you're out there trying to just go hunting every day during season, you got to have birds just ready to go, or you alternate, because it's mind blowing when you don't have a bird to fly and you don't know what it's like. I don't know what to do with myself.
That gives them a rest, but at the same time, there's wear and tear too. If you hawk hard at the end of the season, you can tell the birds. And again, it's Murphy's Law, but I will say it's crazy. Falconry is so, like they always say, the highs are high, the lows are low. You didn't have a bird like I did that I flew 19 seasons, and you can get another bird the next year and you had it 3 weeks and it died. I mean, it's just so fluid. So many things can happen. I mean, just crazy things. No wonder what was it, Bert, that wrote back in the 1200s, any day you go home with a bird's a good day. When I first read that as a kid, I'm like, what's that mean? And later you're like, oh yeah, there's a lot to be said for that, So.
Yeah. Was it, gosh, time flies. Last season I had 2 birds that I was flying because Casey told me that, he said, fly 2 birds. And, for years and years, all I ever did was focus on one bird. or cast of Harris hawks. So last season, my goshawk died in December, and then my red tail died in January. Both accidents in the field.
Which happens.
Yeah. That was just horrible luck.
Yeah. And once you've been doing it, I'll have younger guys call or younger in the sport call, and they'll say, hey, you're never going to believe this. And they'll say, I know I shouldn't have said that. I said, yeah, because, or later they'll tell me this big, long 5-minute thing, and they'll say, you're not shocked, are you? And I said, no. Well, be honest. Have you ever heard about that before, that scenario? Yeah, actually 3 or 4 times. And they're like, no, you're lying. It's like you talking about the hood on a bird. I had a friend that had a goshawk and went out to weigh the bird and didn't have a hold of the jesses properly. And the bird took off hooded. So it's ringing up. There's power lines overhead, and they're screaming at themselves the whole time because the bird's, 100 feet in the air, and they're trying to run underneath of it to, keep it from getting injured or whatever. And they finally catch it and they're kicking themselves. And they call me and say, I don't deserve to be a falconer. You can't believe what I did today. I actually wasn't holding the jesses on a bird that was outside because it was hooded and it took off. Have you ever heard of that before? And I'm like, oh yeah, I've seen that happen before. I was at a meet one time and saw this, or I saw it, and they're like, no. I said, oh yeah. It's like, not that there isn't weird things that happen, but if it can happen, it will always.
Yeah, that scares the crap out of me when I see somebody with a hooded bird just sitting somewhere, not tethered.
Oh yeah.
You'll see somebody like messing around at the back of their truck, and the hawk's just sitting there on a perch, or sitting in the box with the hood on and not tethered. I'm like, man, all it takes is just one little spook and that thing could fly off, and who knows what could happen.
Yeah. There's so many bad things that happen that are just, chances in a million, but yet they happen. So yeah, I'm one of those guys. Prevention is my friend. And then I'm one of those guys that think, and rethink. I'm constantly trying to fix something before it goes wrong.
That's what we got to be as falconers.
Yeah, no doubt.
So you had said earlier in your life that you were hunter. You did hunting and trapping up in Baltimore.
Well, we lived in Baltimore, but we were 2.5 hours from. We had a hunting camp in West Virginia. Again, my grandfather started hunting a certain mountain in 1957, and so every year we hunted that mountain. The whole family did, generation after generation together. So I grew up doing a lot of, we deer hunted. I've hunted black bear, wild boar. I've been out west hunting mule deer. Yeah, we were a hunting family, a small game, everything. I was always, even as a kid, I guess because Dad read the stories he read, I was always trying even non-traditional things. I like to hunt with a spear or a blowgun, slingshot. I was always hunting with different type things like that. So yeah, trapping and hunting I did before falconry, and even during that. Even though I'd say now, falconry is probably my go-to. I usually try to put a deer or two in the freezer every year, but
that was going to be my question: is do you find time for other hunting anymore?
Not as much. I can, but I don't enjoy it as much, I guess, because I did so much deer hunting growing up and everything else. We killed turkey and everything else. My sons are big into it. My one son's licensed as a falconer, but we did so much falconing when he was a kid. He never did as much gun hunting, so he thinks that's the cool part. And I was the opposite. He's big. I actually rattled an 8-pointer in for him this year, which is when you get to be a father and your kids are in their 20s, you take as much pleasure in watching them hunt. So knowing I'm where I'm at and I'm rattling, I know a buck's working a doe, and here he comes and my son drops it. You get a lot of joy from that. So the last couple of seasons, I've been doing more of that, even though I haven't trapped in the last 6 or 7 years, but I just got a bunch of traps ready 2 weeks ago. I'm getting ready to put some traps in the ground in the next week, just because I haven't done it in a while and I need to thin some predators out around here.
What kind of predators are you going for?
Mainly coyote and fox. I do have some fisher in this area as well. I'd like to take one of them, and even maybe a bobcat, but it's not a big area I'm trapping, but I know I'm seeing a lot of red fox, but I'm hearing coyotes too. So anything I can do that would thin them out would help.
We're very pro trapping on this podcast.
Yeah, I love trapping. It's if I had more time, I would do more of that. I really there's a something about waking up in the morning and knowing you're going to run your line and check. It's almost like fishing when you're a kid and watching the bobber. You're hoping you're going to get something. So I remember the first red fox I ever caught. I went in real early in the morning and my headlamp spotted eyes. And then the eyes disappeared. And then I saw the eyes again. I thought, yeah. It was funny because the first red fox I ever caught, I caught by the pad of the foot. It was a bad catch. I didn't catch a good catch on the foot. It just caught the pad, but it held him. And wow. So you're learning how to set and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, you're it's almost like ridge trapping. You're bringing a bird into an area to net. Same thing. You're bringing that fox or that canine or feline or whatever it is into a certain spot, and you're thinking like he thinks, and you're thinking, okay, if I was him, I'd come in this way and I'd step right here. And so that's to beat them at their game is that's part of the challenge.
I haven't fully fleshed this thought out. And Casey, I'm curious what you think. I feel like trapping and falconry are kind of similar mindsets, maybe skill sets that lend themselves to the other.
I think in terms of mastering the outdoors, I think falconry and trapping they go hand in hand because like Jason just said, you have to think like the quarry. I mean, deer hunting's the same way, but you can kind of set up on a trail and wait for them to walk by or rattle them in, and you can predator hunt with calls and get them to come in. But trapping is you have to really immerse yourself in what they're doing in order to catch them, and they're very good at what they do, and takes a lot of skill to trap anything. And I think falconry is the same way. You have to you can't be a brute about what you're doing. You have to kind of like empathize with the bird and put yourself in the bird's shoes. And a lot of it comes through the training of being an apprentice and what your sponsor tells you. But really, you have to kind of like, why is my bird acting like this? Where is this bird's head at? And you have to kind of like figure that out, which makes it like you're more immersed in nature as a trapper and a falconer, in my opinion, than just going out with a rifle and sitting in a tree stand.
Yeah, I think the difference is a person can borrow a rifle, and I'm not saying at all that it doesn't take skill to be a good deer hunter or turkey hunter or whatever, but you can literally borrow a buddy's gun and go sit on a stump, and if a deer runs by you and you're a decent shot, you didn't put in as much work as a guy that spent hours in the field with cameras and everything else trying to draw that one buck in, whereas you're not going to accidentally trap a fox normally. You've got to really have a skill set. And I like that too. I like learning as you go and having a trap dug up and you're thinking, oh, this is a wise one, or I've messed up with scent, or I think any good woodsman or outdoorsman that's a falconer or a trapper hunter, I think the longer you stay in it, you finally figure out the competition. I tell a lot of younger falconers this: the competition is never with somebody else; it's always with yourself. And I think falconry and trapping, you're competing with yourself. It is a mind game. It's trying to beat the animal, yes. But if the animal won and you lost, I say it this way. If I'm competing with Casey, I may be able to snow job Casey. I show him only the good pictures and not the bad. You know what I mean? I can do a lot of that kind of stuff. So I might snow job him, but I can't snow job myself. Even if someone says, man, that was a really good catch. And I'm thinking, actually, it wasn't. He didn't see this, and this. So I like it when I tell everyone this: the only guy I'm in competition with is the falconer I was last year. And so, and I'm constantly competing with myself to be better. I just think our society today is, and again, I'm not wanting to take a tangent, but it seems like our society today needs so much approval from everybody else. And I think true falconers, I think the birds we fly, and I'm not saying there's not camaraderie with other falconers. There definitely is. There's a brotherhood there, no doubt about it. But a lot of guys, even if they come back at the end of the hunt and they share their pictures with 7 or 8 buddies during the hunt, it's just them and the dog or them and the bird. It's more of it's a competition with self. It's the mind game. And it's that challenge to be better and better and better and better. I think that's what drives me on anyway.
Well said. I agree. wholeheartedly with all of that. Last year I took to trapping when my red tail died. I really got to trapping because I really had nothing else going on, so I started beaver trapping. Which nothing will beat the thrill. Well, I take that back. The thrill is real similar to falconry, like you said. The reward is huge when you pull that 40-pound beaver up out of the water.
Yeah.
Like, not, that's like catching that 33-ounce fox squirrel.
Yeah, well, you went into his living room and beat him at his game. And what I like about trapping too, I like the preparing the traps, the setting, and then even when you get your hides and you skin them and everything. Sometimes when the market dropped out, when Obama was in, we didn't do well as far as hides go, or furs. But I'd set them away and just get them tanned and hang them by the fireplace. I mean, to look at, I'm big on, I love taxidermy. In fact, I got to be careful because my wife's like, this place is starting to look like Cabela's. And I'm like, that's exactly the theme I was going for. And she's like, yeah,
that's right.
So I've got furs everywhere and whatnot hanging everywhere. But yeah, I mean, the first badger, I killed, and the first coyote or the first bobcat, I'm putting them on the wall. There's something about looking at that and saying, hey, I remember that was a great catch. Or like you just said, hanging a beaver pelter, and plus you can actually have clothes made, gloves made, hats made. I'm sorry, but when a guy wears a hat with a beaver he caught and had it, I mean, I'm sorry, there's some respect there, I think.
Absolutely. The Fisher would be a cool mount. That'd be a really cool mount.
Yeah, I found tracks, but I've never trapped one here. We're allowed one in West Virginia. A lot of surrounding states aren't allowed any, but I believe they're one of the main problems we have. Well, opinions, even going all the way up through to Maine with goshawk, losing goshawks and whatnot. I think Fishers are a major problem. Not the only problem, but I think they're a major problem.
They're friends of ours up in the North Woods have said that they are, short of habitat loss of obviously logging and all that. But if there's a goshawk nest that's intact, Fishers are a big concern.
I had a guy call me from PA, I think 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago. And he said, I want to throw a scenario at you. How do you keep your Harrises? And he was asking some questions. And I said, what's the question for? And he said, well, I've got a chain link chamber, and I got a female Harris in it. He said, she's been in there 10 years. He said, I went out to check on her. I got up one day, went out to feed her. She wasn't there. She wasn't in the chamber at all. I found feathers, but the bird was gone. And I said, did you check really good around there? And he said, yeah, I looked everywhere. I didn't see anything. I said, how big of an area did you check? He said, well, I don't know, 10, 20, 30 feet. I said, go out 50 yards, keep doing circles and look underneath stuff, look under logs, He called me back and said, I found a wing. I found the bird's wing 50 yards away, tucked under a rock. I said, it's a Fisher. And he said, I just don't see how it's possible. The perches aren't even near the outside of the cage. I said, they'll run her all over that thing and they'll spook that bird. They can grab a hold of it. They'll eat it right through the cage, to the chain link. The next day, he sends me a picture of a dead Fisher at his mailbox on his road. He said, I didn't even know we had him here. I said, well, there you go. I said, you want to take the time to cut the belly open on that thing? Not that it's that one, but I bet money there was feathers in there, So yeah, they're unbelievable. I mean, they're so fast. They not only can just catch squirrels in the trees, they can catch birds in the trees. They're that fast. They're phenomenal.
That's an impressive predator.
Yeah.
Fishers are no joke. But on that same note of reaching and chain link and stuff, I got some chickens, right? And not Fisher related, even though I got a trapper friend of mine that's local in the neighborhood, and he has permission on my property, my neighbor's property, the farm on the other side. And he caught a couple, I think he caught one or two fish. No, his mom and him, so they can catch two. So he caught one, and it was literally like half a mile from my house, not even.
Wow.
They're here. I never would think. I just thought they were up in the mountains, where the goshawks are. I didn't know they were like in my neighborhood, which is crazy.
Yeah, they're amazing predator.
Yeah, and it's scary, like you said, because I got birds in weathering areas, but none of my birds in weathering areas are free lofted. They're on bow perches or block perches. But the whole idea of it's just a funny story. I was out in the porch letting the dogs pee or something, and I heard all this commotion. So I put the dogs back inside. Chickens were going ballistic. So I ran inside, got the 22, and I run out there, and there's a chicken half eaten. But I didn't know this. So I come running around. I'm like kind of be like sneaky, right? So I got the gun and I sneak around with my headlamp on and I turn the corner and the chickens are going ballistic. And there's a raccoon with his arm inside of the cage.
Yeah.
Almost like with his eyes closed, kind of feeling around like this.
Find some goodies.
Yeah. And because they were going nuts and the chickens are going crazy. Like you said, running around, getting spooked. And he's done this before, this guy. So he's got his hand in there. And he's waiting for a chicken to run by his hand so he can grab it and pull it against the cage and then just start eating it through the bars. So I come around the corner and I literally caught him with his hand in the cookie jar.
Right.
And he looks at me and boom, right in the forehead. And he goes down. And then I look to the left in my have-a-heart trap and there's another raccoon in the have-a-heart trap.
Yeah.
And I think didn't I send you that video, Aaron? It was so funny. Yeah. And he's like spraying blood on the ground. Well, anyway,
the worst is when you got a female that's teaching her young to kill. This has been probably 12, 13, 14 years ago. I kept losing pigeons. I couldn't figure out where they were getting in. But I finally just took some of the dead pigeons and put a trap inside and caught the mother. She filled the trap, but she was massive. And there was 4 young ones that didn't want to leave her. They were about half her size, and she was teaching them how to kill. And I lost I don't know, I must have lost 20-some pigeons in a week. And I dusted all of them. But, of course, I changed my chamber and all that. You learn all that kind of stuff later. People are like, how come your pigeon coop has this? Like, well, that seems like overkill. Yeah, it'll happen to you one day. So you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like if you got like silkies or like bantams, I mean, you get a couple rats in there, man, they'll start killing your chickens in the middle of the winter when it's cold.
Oh, yeah, especially big rats, yeah.
Yeah, and forget about it. Anything a rat can get into, like almost a mink can get into, so you got to be careful.
Yeah, oh, no doubt.
Yeah.
Weasels, that's another one. That's a classic chicken enemy, weasels. Although we have them everywhere, but I've never laid eyes on a live one.
Well, that whole family really, weasel, your mink, your marten, your fish, your wolverine, the whole line all the way up. I think they're the same critter. They're just different sizes. I mean, blow a weasel up. What is he? He's a wolverine. I mean, they're for their size. I mean, they're bad to the bone.
Yeah, the mustelid family.
Yeah, they are fascinating little creatures, and they're very hard to. You think when you catch a squirrel and you do the old thumb on the throat, that doesn't work on a mustelid.
You know that from personal experience.
I may or may not have, but yeah, it does not work. They are built; their whole bodies are completely different. You cannot.
That's because their arteries are built on the inside of the bone structure, whereas like a feline's arteries are on the outside. That's why a feline you can choke out 30 seconds.
Yeah, because I mean, the story that I was hearing, the person was squeezing the throat of this weasel, and it was just completely was breathing like nothing was going on, and you're
right
with all your force on the throat, and it was not even remotely affecting it. And then you had to just squeeze the rib cage and stop it. You had to go from the old strangulation to the old python, so the lungs couldn't expand, and that's the only thing that put it out.
Yeah,
and even after that, it took a solid 60 seconds at least,
right,
for it to stop breathing, which was crazy.
Well, sometimes trapping they'll kill canines with catch balls and stuff, but felines like a bobcat are a lot easier. Any kind of feline, literally. I mean, just to where them arteries are on the outside, it's fast, really fast.
We had a falconer on here, Brittany, who had a red tail that caught a mink in a creek bed. And that's talk about big game hunting with your hawk. That right there is
getting with it.
So tell us about your breeding operation, Jason, because you breed more than just Harris hawks, don't you?
Yeah, I breed Harrises, and then I breed Aplamato falcons. And then I breed some owls. Something has to pay the bills.
What type of owls are you breeding?
Barn owls, burrowing owls. I've bred some screeches. Got a couple others in the works, but not breeding them yet. So, yeah, that's more for education. I do education as well as falconry. So, I've got education raptors, breeding raptors, and falconry birds. So,
very cool. Are you still breeding Aplomatos?
Yeah.
And what do you think about them as hunters on the East Coast?
I think your scenario has to be right. Your terrain definitely has to be right. They fly like a Merlin somewhat. They will crash cover versus like your bigger long wings tend to, they won't put in, they'll stand, mark where it's at and land over top. And whereas an Aplo will go right into cover. Pros and cons. They are a micro, so they're definitely a prey item for something larger, whether it's ground predator or a larger hawk, but they're very gutsy, extremely gutsy. I can't really fly them here, even though I tried, but the mountains are not a place to fly an Aplo. It's just not, and I'd tried it anyway, but the last time I flew a female, in fact, I've still caught the one female. She's 13 this year. I tracked her with telemetry 3/4 of a mile. And I'm talking, this is in the mountains. And I was on my hands and knees in a pine thicket when I found her. And the head of the pigeon was gone. She just stayed with it till it finally dumped straight down into the pine thicket. And she just went in there and smoked it. So they're very gutsy. But if I hadn't got to her, she's just on the menu for something else. So more open area is better for them. But I will say, when I first started toying with them and reading about them, I'd read that they can take this or that. And I'm thinking, I don't think so. But I'm going to tell you right now, they're not afraid to go after anything. The first female I ever lure flew in the yard, this was her first day off of a crance line, lure flying in the yard. I had a pileated woodpecker come through the yard, and she checked off the lure and chased it out of sight, and it was 4 times larger than her. Just like, I'll be back. I'm going to go kill this thing. She was very, very gutsy.
Did she have any luck with that one?
Nah, she came back like, got away. Maybe tomorrow.
Yeah, my concern with any micros is Cooper's hawks.
Yeah, I've heard a couple different opinions on that. I think if you're flying a Tirsoletto, you definitely have to worry. But I've had a couple different guys that flew what Jim calls the Elite or the female of the Falcon. He says because of their size, they're not a whole lot different in size than a coop as far as their size. So several people will say, I had a coop come and check them out, but they didn't really pursue them as much as I thought they would, almost like they saw it as another coop. I've had other people said that the bird came in and tried to kill one, but maybe it was on prey. So I think if it was just basic flight, I will say if the bird is super fit, they could outmaneuver a coop, definitely, because they're a long wing. Now, if it's not, or the wind's wrong, or we all know that coops are ambushers, so it's the perfect timing's perfect on them. So if they squeeze the trigger at the right time, they could definitely take them out. But I don't think they're near as bad as a smaller micro, a Kestrel or even a Merlin.
So we've had this discussion on the show a couple times. So now I don't really view so what is the weight in terms of grams, I guess, that you would consider a micro? Because isn't an Aplomato, like a female Aplomato, flies in like the 400s, right?
Not the ones I fly, no. The Peruvians that are mainly bred in the United States, they're flying in the low 300s.
The females?
Yeah, they're flying. And again, I'm just talking about general rule. Your birds are probably going to float between 315 and 350. That's an average weight on a female. Males are going to fly probably 215 to 240, somewhere in there. So they're not Yeah, they're not. I mean, when we say micro, I've always thought micro was almost anything under 400. Um, I mean, is it Tiercel Cooper's a micro? I mean, depends how small he is. Is it a Western bird or an Eastern bird? I mean, I've caught some big female Eastern coops that are huge compared to a Western bird. So, I mean, I don't know the deciding factor on micro.
Yeah, no, it's not necessarily like a debate. But that's good to hear you say that, like under 400.
Yeah, I would say under 400 is a micro. I don't.
Okay.
It's the same with weighing in grams or ounces. I don't know. I was taught anything under 1,000 grams, you weigh in grams. And if it's over 1,000 grams, you weigh in ounces. I have other people that's just been and again, that's not right or wrong. My red tails, I've never weighed them in grams, but I always fly pretty big red tails. My current one she flew today at 49. So I could fly that in grams, but I just always have, like, she's 49.30 today, 49.30. And if it's 1,000 grams or under, like my Harris Hawk, she was 964 today. So under 1,000, I always fly grams, and I don't know why that is, but it seemed like the old timers, a lot of them were like that. And I don't know why that is. Who knows?
Yeah, it's interesting. I started in ounces as a child. All my little notebooks were all ounces, but now I don't know. Grams are just easier.
Yeah.
It's just one number, and you're like, all right. But it is good to know what an ounce is, though. Like, to know, like, okay, my bird is 20, 30 grams off. That's an ounce. Like, you're talking about an ounce. So your bird is off by an ounce.
28.35.
Right. Yeah. So it's like you have to be able to understand that, like, okay, your bird is actually off by a full ounce. So you have to be aware of that. Like, it's not just, so that's good to know. But yeah, because we've talked, right, Aaron? Didn't we talk about it on the show a couple times? Like a micro, like what's considered a micro? Like, is a coops a micro? Are they not a micro? I mean, if you live where it doesn't get cold, then nothing's a micro, because I just think that all plays into the daily routine. Like, obviously you're going to weigh birds multiple times a day when they're small. Even I got a Tiercel goshawk, I'm weighing him twice a day, and that's not because of anything crazy. I just want to be on top of him. But I guess if you live in a colder climate, then you would want to be really on top of it to know what you're losing, what you're burning, where you're at. But okay, so under 400, we're going to put that in the Sporting Chance notes. Under 400 is a micro.
I guess I've always looked at a male coop as a micro and a female not. I don't know why that is. It's kind of weird in my head. I mean,
yeah, it makes sense.
That's kind of what
I'm in agreement.
I flew a female coops, and did amazing with it. That's documented.
It's the easiest bird Aaron has ever flown.
Yeah. And I never considered her a micro.
Yeah, I flew a female before. I didn't either. They're great birds.
Yeah, I'm with you. They're super cool birds. It's a great test to see if you can jive with the personality of an accipiter.
Yeah, coop. Well, whether it's passage or imprint, I flew a couple passages. I never flew an imprint. But the passage, I think the key to them is just kill stuff. The more stuff I showed that coop, man, she just literally, she didn't like a hood. So I'd get the hood on her and she'd be a little bit spunky, but once she killed 6 or 7 starlings or pigeons or whatever on the ride home, she'd stand on your knee on one foot, unhooded, and preen like she was Jekyll and Hyde. Like, how was your day? I mean, earlier it was like, she'd eat you if she thought she could, But I think that goes back to, and this is just my opinion on, I think when a bird kills, whether it's a buteo or an accipiter or a falcon, they have to be satiated. That's not just to fill their stomach. It's psychological. They have to kill. There's something in them. Yeah, I think falcons like to fly. Buteos like to fly. They like to hunt, and accipiters like to kill. I mean, I think you can, there's each one has a little specialty there as far as what makes them different.
My limited experience with accipiters is that the killing is more important to them than anything else. So I agree with you. Absolutely.
Yeah. If you just feed them a meal, that's not, they're like, thanks for the crop, but I've still got to put my foot in you because I didn't get to put my foot in something. Yeah, so I'm going to have to grab you instead.
You can go out.
I'm going to correct both of you.
Well, you have more experience than us with accipiters.
I don't have a lot of experience.
Before you go into that, because I'm sure it'll be very long-winded. If I took my goshawk out and we got skunked, we caught nothing. It was manageable, I call her back, we get in it, but she is less pleasant. If we went out and she killed and she got to pluck some fur, and then I traded her off and we went home, that it was a totally different bird. She was, like Jason was saying, just super easygoing, super chill. Otherwise, when we're walking back to the truck, that was where she's like baiting at the dogs.
Yep.
She's just pissed off. Yep. Now, Casey's gonna be a contrarian like Phil, and let's hear what you got to say.
No, I agree. No, I agree with both of you that the sucking the life out of another living creature is what they live for. But really, I think more importantly is it's the expenditure of energy that they have. This tension that's inside of them that needs to be released, because you could not kill anything with an accipiter, but if you go out in your yard and you would do a bunch of restrained pursuits and jump ups to the fist until that bird is exhausted, you'll get almost the same result, where the bird is just tranquil, calm, full crop. They got it out of their system and now they feel better. And that's just my personal opinion. Because if you go out and catch a rabbit in 30 seconds, your bird is still going to be a little amped afterwards.
But if you let them,
so that means
I found the plucking is so important to them.
It is. You got to let them pluck, and that was a good pro tip from Sladen on another episode. When do you make in an accipiter when they're mantling and acting crazy? He said when there's usually one foot that's the control foot that's got where it wants to be, and the other foot's kind of floating. When the control foot releases and resets, then you say, okay, I can kind of move in now. The bird understands that this quarry is dead, it's under control, and it repositioned itself. Now I can move in. And that was a good insight. But I'm just saying that's what the accipiter people like that are really all into that. It's the energy thing. They have this excess of energy, and if you can get it out of them, kind of like a Belgian like Malinois that's like out of its freaking mind. If you run that thing and do crazy exercise, it's going to be a lot more calm in the house. Same thing with an accipiter. If you get that energy out of its system, it's going to be a lot calmer. But also watching the life fade from a animal's eyes, I think they enjoy that. They enjoy that also, I think.
I think that's you.
No, that's what the people on social media say that
you love.
That's not what I am.
Casey, you're a killer.
It's as if Jason was there with us in DC while you're running around killing rats.
Dude, when I see, I'll fully admit that when I see rats, I black out basically. I just black out and I have to stomp as many of them to death as I see. It's just, I can't stop myself.
I remember being I was probably, 10 or 11. And I don't know what hit my brain. I said to my dad, can you help me make a spear? I mean, your average father's going to be like, well, why do you want a spear? My dad's like, sure. So he helps me melt this thing down and make this spear. And so I go behind. I lived in the edge of the city then. And I'm back in this creek at night in the summertime. Mosquitoes are eating, and I'm all blacked out, waiting on these rats. And I'm just sticking these rats with a spear. And I remember telling my friends at school the next day, and over the lunch table, and there's 2 or 3 of them looking at me because they're all into sports. And I played some sports, but it just wasn't my thing. And finally, one of them says, Caldwell, you're an odd duck. And I said, what do you mean by that? He goes, every sport you're involved in, something has to die. And I'm like, that's not, well, I guess that is true. Yeah, you're right.
Nowadays, Aaron works in the school system. So nowadays, if he had a student like you come in his office, he'd have to call some agency to look into you.
That's all right.
I'd want to find out where his rat spot is personally.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like it's ingrained in some people. I mean, it's just, maybe it's genetic. I mean, I got a little brother. He was not little anymore, but I mean, he used to, I'd have turtles and all kinds of pets, and we'd put goldfish in there and they'd chase after them. And, a couple, after all the turtles were full, there'd be a couple goldfish. And I remember we were like little kids. Like I could barely remember this. My little brother would go in there. I didn't even see him do it. I would just see him out in the driveway. We had like a retaining wall, and he would just sit on the driveway and like like stab the fish.
Good God.
And I remember my parents had to like have a talk with him, and they're like, that's not okay. Like, you can't do that.
Is he a social worker now or something?
Yeah, he's actually he's actually like the calmest, nicest kid.
I guess he got it out of his system.
I think he got it out of his system. I mean, I don't know. I think that killing things, Aaron would know more with the psychology background, but I think boys in general, I mean, they say lighting fire. Me and my wife were talking about this the other night. Lighting fires, right? Isn't that like children that like to light fires? It's like one of the serial killer things. It's like, I don't know a single kid that's a normal child, that's a boy, that doesn't like to light stuff on fire and watch it burn. Anybody? Is that not true? Am I wrong?
Yeah, I love stuff blow up and
blow up, light stuff on fire. Like, that's just normal. So like,
I guess
my son was asking me questions about fire because we've got a fire going the other night, and I'm explaining to him that fire is dangerous. It's fun, but if you ever want to play with it, we need to do it together, and I can show you how to do it. Like, keep everything safe. Because when I was young, my dad was too busy driving a bus. So this is a true story. I actually was obsessed with lighting fires, and then my mom would always scream at me, and she was home with us. So I remember I went under my porch, which was like a wraparound porch that was completely closed in, and I crawled underneath it. And I started like a bonfire under the porch in my neighborhood. And there's like smoke coming out of the sides of it, coming up through the floorboards. And it was like, I got beat so bad, but I just wanted to make a fire. I wasn't like, I just wanted to watch it burn. Like, I wasn't trying to.
Mama Sue had her hands full between
she whipped me, bro.
And you,
no, not me.
Pyromaniac. And
I got one brother killing fish. I'm lighting fires. Like, something's not right here. Anyway, I'm an excipitor. My younger brother's an excipitor. He just likes to watch stuff die. No.
On the subject of hunting and killing, it's also crazy how, I mean, we all know this, but if you stop and appreciate the bond you get with your dogs and your birds when you go out and you hunt and you're successful, it's just, that's the answer to all problems. Well, I'm generalizing, but it's the answer to many problems with falconry birds is go out and catch game.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That fixes so many problems. Go kill something with them.
And sometimes killing, being successful with them sometimes is really hard. But once you get that ball rolling and you can get consistent with being successful, you've got it made after that.
Yeah, success breeds success. Sure. Confidence builds. That's awesome.
And we've all had those difficult birds that it's really rewarding when you're finally successful with them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So how do you get captive born Harris hawks going, Jason? Because they can be hard to get going.
Yeah, a lot of it depends on, I try to look at the parents and find out, really try to look at the head of the bird and think about, okay, what are the parents like? I don't think any two birds are alike. I mean, I hate when someone says it's just a Harris or it's just a red tail. They're all whatever. They're not. They're so diverse. I've seen a pair of sisters. In fact, I have someone call me and say, "Hey, are you going to have a female Harris for me this year? What's it going to fly at?" I'm like, "How in the world would I know what it's going to fly at?" It's like saying your wife's going to have a baby. What's it going to? How tall is he going to be when he grows? I mean, there's no way you could know that kind of stuff. So, I mean, you have two sisters, same clutch. They fly 80 grams apart. I mean, literally, one could be big, one could be smaller. So, what I try to do is, my chambers are really tall and narrower. I want my birds to already be muscled. So I don't like guys that when they breed them, they have these short chambers. The bird, when it comes out of the chamber, didn't have any muscle. It's never had to build any muscle. So the falconer has to work a long time to get that. When I take a bird out of the chamber, it's already had to build its chest to fly up to a high perch, looking out the highest part of the chamber. The bird there's a perch up top, and that's where the sun comes in. That's where they want to go. So they already have chest on them, but they're usually fat because they've been fed quality food and they're fat. So naturally, you got to bring the bird down. I try to get the bird, once I come within range of what the weight is on the bird. I think Harrises are really smart versus like when a lot of people try to train them like a red tail. I think it's a mistake. You don't want to crayons fly, a Harris for a month. I think you're wasting time. I would rather, once the bird figures out to come to the fist, let's say I get the bird coming to the fist for food. Once it's coming to the glove, I whistle, comes to the glove outside on a crayon line. So far, the training is just like a red tail. Comes to the fist, eats a tidbit, goes, put it back on a perch, flies again. Once it'll do that, maybe 2 or 3 days in a row, I stop the feeding on the fist. I don't show them any more food. I'll put a tidbit in the fist. That way, when I hold up my glove, that means come. When they come to the glove and I open the glove, there might be a tidbit, there might not be. So once they still come anyway, then I do a 180. I let them come to the glove, an empty glove, and I'll toss a tidbit away from me. So they're going away from me to the ground. That segues right into T-perch training. I'll put a tidbit on a T-perch, call them off the perch, they'll land on that. Then I'll put them up on the T-perch, throw the tidbit away. They come off the T-perch, even 1 or 2 days of that. And then once they figure that out, I segue right into a dead rabbit on a string, and then like maybe a baggie, and then I show it game. So I'm normally, when I pull a bird from the chamber, if it's not hog fat, if it's near where I want it to be and I can start dropping the weight, I want to show that bird fur within about 17 days. I don't give it time. I think when you boil it down, I think most guys that take a Harris out of a chamber, they're on step 1 and the bird's on step 3.
That's more or less what I do with them, but I find that they're how quickly do you typically find, and you'd said yourself all birds are different, but what's a reasonable expectation for a captive Harris to take its first head of wild game?
How many times did you have it out, you mean?
Yeah, well, from the time you start free flying and hunting it, do you expect them to catch fairly quickly?
Well, I make part of my training. Let's suppose I've been tossing tidbits and they're going away and they're figuring out. I don't show my bare hand doing it. You have to learn how to pitch it. I don't want them to grab at my bare hand, or I don't want them to be sticky footed on the glove either. So when they go out and they get a tidbit and they're back to the glove, once they figure out the routine, this guy's producing food. He's not the food. He's producing the food. Then I show them a rabbit on a string or a dead rabbit. And from then on, I make every training episode or every hunt successful. There is no hunt that's not successful. So for instance, if we zing a rabbit out that's dead on a string and the bird grabs it, if I give it some food and then trade it off, in its mind, it caught it. I do that many, many, many times in a row until I get it hawking. And even when I take it out hunting the first time, before I brought the bird out of the giant hood, I've got a rabbit on a string buried underneath a brush pile, to where if it misses everything in the field, at the end of the hunt, it still caught something. Because in its mind, dude, I've been out 5 times and I've caught something all 5 times. Because it's not a wild bird, this isn't a passage bird, it comes out of the chamber. There is a lot of confidence building there. But I think if you do it right and the genetics are there, the bloodline is there, you may even want to start with a baggy rabbit or a quail. I've never thrown a quail out that a hawk didn't come in and smoke it. And if they do, once they kill, I don't wait 4 more days and then try it again. I'm doing it fast, as many times in a row as I can do it, or run them on a bull X or whatever you want to do. As long as they're getting the idea, the furry thing moves, I grab it, I get fed. I think Harrises are that simple. Now, again, I will say sometimes you're off on your weight. And so some birds, and I don't even want to throw a number out because that wouldn't be right. But let's suppose you trained 8 Harrises in a row over a period of whatever. One out of 8 of them or 1 out of 10 of them, it seems like, and I think this is with all birds of prey. I think, let's suppose there's 5 hurdles that you're going to jump from. We're talking step into the fist for the first time to taking its first head of game. Let's say there's 5 to 6 hurdles in there. That could be, one of the hurdles is jumping to the glove. One of the hurdles is flying on the crans. One of the hurdles is learning that the whistle means this. At some point, they're gonna balk at one of them hurdles. Some of them, you may go 1, 2, 3, no problem. And then hurdle number 4, this bird cannot figure out how to get over number 4. You may find that the first 4, man, this bird trains like a dream. And then it hits the tree You show it fur and it just looks at it. And you're like, dude, man, I mean, you've been a dream to work with. What's the problem? Kill the rabbit. And it's like in its mind, it can't jump that hurdle. Sometimes you have to show it 30 or 40 head and you're thinking, this bird is not going to work. I mean, literally the rabbit sunbathing underneath of him. It's not even running. The bird's not going to catch it. You just keep doing it. I have found once that bird connects that dot, sometimes they turn into the best birds. So, but that just takes patience and pushing. So, yeah, I try to make no training episode or no training session negative. Let's say this is the first time it's flying free. It's fed on a rabbit in the yard, but I've never let it fly after one. So I'm going to send it out slow on a rabbit on a string. When it grabs it, I'm going to let it feed. I'm going to trade it off. The next session is going to be faster. And once I get into the field, I've got a bullets set up, a dead rabbit on a string, and a rabbit on a have a heart. I mean, I've got 14 things set up to where if it misses the one that's alive and it does get away, then I'm going to zing this one. If it misses that one, I'm going to make it to where that bird is going to end up on game every time. And I found if you do that enough times, and it is some setup and it is some, but I think you can, most guys, I think they drag that out. They're like, yeah, I'm on week 8 of pulling the rabbit on the string. I don't think you needed all that. I think once they figure out, and you'll know when they start, you'll know when they leave the fist or the T-perch or the tree, whether they're smoking or whether they're cautious and they float in and land next to it and run over and put a foot on it, or they just dust it. And I think then you just show it fur. Just get with it. Hawk your brains out.
You 100% get what you put in, and if you're putting that much effort in, you're doing a lot. That's a lot of work.
Yeah, and it is hard in the East. I mean, everyone's got their hurdles to jump in as far as the country goes, but my wife's from Michigan. I used to go up there at Christmas, see family, whatnot, take birds with me, and I'd hawk up there. And I hawked so many squirrels that I wanted to hunt bunnies because I just didn't have the bunnies. So I'd get up there and I'd hook up with guys, and they're like, this field's not that great. We're only going to jump about 20. And I'm like, this is insanity. And I mean, I'd catch more in that week than I caught my whole season at home. And they're like, man, your bird's tearing it up. And I'm like, it's because there's game everywhere. It's just, you miss one. And they're like, no, don't worry about it. I'm like, are we going to follow the tracks? Oh, no, well, there'll be another one in 5 minutes. And you're like, this is insanity. We
know a guy in Michigan, and I don't remember exactly what he says, Casey, but what's his stipulation for a field?
Oh, I mean, shout out to Harold James. He's a character. I really love that guy. But he says if he goes to a new field and he's not flushing, if he doesn't flush 5 rabbits in the first 10, 15 minutes, he just leaves. It's not a good
field. This is with no dog.
No dog.
This is just walking around with a bird on the fist. If he doesn't flush,
it's like, I believe, he said like if he goes to a new spot that he wants to scout out and he starts beating brush, walking through, and he doesn't move about 5 rabbits in 15 minutes or so, man, we're out of here. I'm like, bro, I'll be lucky to move 5 rabbits in an hour and a half, 2 hours, no doubt. 3 hours.
And some of them are reflushes. You're counting.
Oh, yeah. You don't even know what. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then half the time you already.
Rabbit you've seen 3 times. Yeah, no doubt. Exactly. I was out today and I had 4 slips on bunnies. I know one of them was twice. And bird was out of position both times. In fact, the Harris should have had it. Actually, I've never seen a cottontail do this. The Harris went in straight down, great flight. And the rabbit saw the hawk coming and did one of those jackrabbit jumps, dove right over its head, right over its body. And the dachshund almost caught it. It was pretty smooth. But yeah, I mean, if you have a day where you jump 8 or 10, and I'm not talking about, hawking 8 hours, but if you spent 4 hours in the field, your legs are burning and you had 10 slips, dude, man, that's a honey hole. Don't tell anyone about that place.
That's a good spot right there. Yeah, I agree with you.
Big time. And it's
where did you get your dachshund, Jason?
Teddy.
Of course, if you didn't get it from Teddy, you better have gotten it from me.
That's right. That's what we always say. If you're going to get a dachshund, Aaron or Teddy.
Yeah, she's wrong. She was a year old yesterday.
Okay, is that your first dachshund?
Yeah, I've hunted with guys with dogs for years, Floyd, Jack Russells and Beagles and all that, but I've always been the dog myself, and I just haven't. I travel a lot in the summer for work and all, and it's more to do. And it's funny because a lot of the guys that are been in the sport 5 or 10 years, or been, they're trying to always text me and call me. Have you seen what a dog can do to your game? And I'm like, dude, quit trying to convince me. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about. I've been doing this for like 35 years. I know what a dog can do. I've never been in the scenario where I could do it. And I finally just said, you know what? Life's too short, and I'm getting old, and I'm bleeding too much. So I kind of wanted to add a dog to it. Just
adds
for
a whole new element to the game.
It is. It's fun. It's fun watching her. And when I was younger, I didn't have the patience that I have now. In the old days, I was almost too hardcore. Like nothing got away. Like if something went in the trees, I'm cutting the tree down. I'm burning I just nothing got away. I dug the hole, dynamite, whatever. We got to get them out of here. So nowadays, if the dog misses, it tried and the bird missed. I'm not saying I'm not frustrated, but it was a good flight, good try, good wing over. In the old days, I'm like, get your head in the game. You're talking to the bird, like it's going to answer you anyway. So
yeah, oh yeah. How long did it take you to grow out of that?
Grow out of what?
Grow out of that phase of wanting to.
I'm not fully out.
Okay, all right.
Casey was asking for a friend on that.
I was asking for a friend. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not fully out. I always want to catch more, but at the same time, I do enjoy the day, the beauty of it, the sunshine, the dog work, the cold air, my breath in the air, but the crunch of the snow. As you get older, you start looking at things because, I don't know, sometimes we're so worried about the destination, we forget about the journey. And you can really, let me say it this way. There's some great hunts that the bird missed 3 times, but the hunt's etched in my mind. It was a tremendous hunt. And there's other times I caught a double that day, but I didn't see either one of them. I just heard the squeal and I ran over there. Last week I let the red tail go actually behind the house, flew up into a tree, took off burning 100-yard flight. And I just saw the direction she went, got over there, and she had a squirrel by the head. I never even saw the flight. I just saw, sometimes you're 30 seconds into the hunt. But other times you hunt the same squirrel 45 minutes. Well, there's a lot more action there, and you just get to where you enjoy the flight and all that kind of stuff too. I mean, don't get me wrong. I still want to, I'll put it this way. If the bird is doing its best and it just, it was a fluke, it missed the shot, the rabbit juked, the squirrel juked. I mean, the squirrel did Houdini, then I'm not upset. When I get upset is when I know the bird was farting around, or when she's not picking her shots and she knows better. Especially if you fly a bird long enough, that bird will look at you when it misses. Almost like, I mean, you can see that attitude like a rebellious kid. And you're like, you better get your head in the game. And they look at you with that, like they lower their beak and then they cock their head and look at you like, or what? Like, yeah, you come down here, I'll tell you for what. So yeah, there's some attitude issues got to go on. Sure.
Yeah. When I have that, my bird sits out in the mew with no food in the weathering area, freezing cold. And I stand out there with a hoodie
on, right?
Huh? What, Aaron?
With the sprinkler on?
With a sprinkler on, and I stand there with a raincoat and I just stare at it freezing all night long. And then in the morning we go out again. Yeah, the whole enjoying the moment and the crunch of the snow and all that. That stuff I only even acknowledge that is going on after I have a rabbit in my bag. Yeah. Or a squirrel. And if I don't have a rabbit or a squirrel in the bag, then it's just there's just red blackout rage until we catch something, and then after that I'm like, all right, look at this beautiful, look at the weather, look at the clouds, isn't this nice? Oh, she missed. All right,
not the bird being satiated, it's the falconer.
Yeah, no, 100% it is. But at the same time, I agree with you about the bird thing. But if the bird's not performing, I don't get as pissed off as the bird missing as I do when the dogs aren't working. And usually when the bird's not doing something, I know that it was me in some way. Bird's too heavy, bird's too low. It's just not, I picked the wrong spot for the bird that I'm at the stage that it's in. I went to a really thick spot where this bird's still learning how to deal with the wind or whatever.
Right.
Yeah, but it's when I don't have game in the bag, I don't enjoy anything until we get a game.
We're a lot like the birds. Think about this. The bird really has to fly. It's hungry. It wants to eat. And it wants, like we just talked about psychologically, it wants to be satiated. So let's say you doubled today with the bird and gave it a decent crop and it's satiated for the day. Well, you are as well. You're sending your buddy a picture, whatever. Yeah, man. But tomorrow that bird's back to being hungry and that fulfillment's gone. And we're exactly the same way. I mean, we don't live on yesterday's kills. You'd think we'd be satisfied. Man, I tripled yesterday. Dude, awesome. The next day you're like, dude, we got to get with this. We got to catch something. And it's that drive. I think we're a lot like the bird. We have to be satiated just like they do,
100%. I mean, that's just life in general.
Yeah.
It's life.
Sure.
You got paid on Friday, man. You got to work hard to get paid on Friday the next week.
Yeah.
Otherwise, your kids are going to go hungry.
Never ends. But every day's a new day, too. That's why I'm glad life's not by just one big long day.
100%.
Very true. In case you'll like this, yesterday I was out hawking and I found myself watching two little songbirds flying around in the trees, tweeting at each other. And I caught myself just standing there smiling, watching them.
Man, that's just like the lowest testosterone thing like a man could do. Did you catch game before or after this?
His bird was actually on a squirrel and he didn't care.
To be fair, I caught something earlier in the day, so I was good.
That's okay then. That's all right. You can enjoy a little Tweety bird after you caught game. If you didn't catch game, though, that's unacceptable.
We had just watched the Fantastic Beasts Harry Potter movies with young Dumbledore in them, and I felt like I was young Dumbledore standing there smiling, watching birds flying around.
I was not allowed to watch any of those Harry Potter movies as a child because
you're 30-some years old now. You could watch them if you want.
Yeah, but if I watch that, then my children have to watch it, and I don't want them to get demon possessed.
Anyway.
So you guys both have young kids?
Yes, we do. We have two. Aaron has a daughter the same age as my son, and then I have a younger son that's going to turn 2 in March.
So they're both your guys' kids are under 5?
Mine is 6, and Abigail's she's going to be 6 soon?
She'll be 6 this spring. Yeah.
6 this spring, yeah. See, Aaron did it right on his child. I did it right on my second child. The first child, I did it completely wrong. He was born in November, which is a huge problem. It's not acceptable.
Were you there for the birth?
I did my best, and then I literally went home I had to go take care of some stuff at home, and it's my phone and it's my wife in the getting a C-section. It's the baby, and then it's a kill, and then it's me back in the hospital. If you go on my phone and look at my videos, it's so funny, man. I said, I got to go check the animals, make sure everything's all right at home. All right, I'll be back. Your mom will be here. Okay, all right. And then I go out and I grab the bird and just run out. You just can't stop, man.
Priorities.
Birds got to be flown. Children have to be fed. It's just the way of life, man. That's it.
Yeah. Daddy's got to be happy too, right?
Listen, man, they say happy wife, happy life. I say happy papi, happy family.
There we go. All right. Well, Jason, I sincerely appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, sure.
Me too, man. It was great talking to you. A lot of great information, and you came highly recommended.
By who?
The one and only Teddy Moritz.
Yeah, when Teddy says, "Hey, you should get this person on," we stop what we're doing and we make sure it happens.
Yeah.
Well, Teddy's, like you guys well know, Teddy's Teddy. There's none like her, but we even though we're very different, we're also very similar in that we were mentored by the same guy. So there are certain things. Floyd was one of those guys. I wish you guys could have met him. He was very, he was a no nonsense guy. Quiet when there's a lot of people around, but if you were one-on-one, very open, very good to help you, but he just had a way. And so we were both, and she will continually say, and so will I, that, I mean, there was nobody like that guy. I was just very fortunate to be mentored by that guy. I mean, just tremendous mentoring. And so, yeah, we share that. And I'm very grateful for his, wisdom in my life and hers as well. She's even with the dog. I called her yesterday and asked her a question about the dog. So make sure I'm still, doing what I need to do and ever learning, man. You never master this sport. Never master it.
100%
true.
Never done.
It's impossible to master, honestly, I think.
Oh yeah. Well, and if you did, what's the challenge of it? You want to keep at it. So yeah, you're never done learning. So I love adding different things to the mix and seeing different things, but getting in the field, it's awesome. Nothing like it.
That's it. I don't care what's flying. If we're chasing game with it,
yeah,
we're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, that's me too. If the bird is successful, if it's a good bird, if we're flying kestrels on starlings or an eagle on whatever, I'm there. I don't care what it is. I'm like, does this bird kill stuff? I'm there. Yep, I'm that way.
100%. Yeah, I mean, I just remember going to Seth Roy's house. Shout out to our boy Seth Roy, and he had a Sharpie. I went up there in like the summertime, we're chasing house sparrows or whatever. I think I had more fun doing that than anything else I've ever done. Just chasing sparrows around in a field with a Sharpie on the fist. You know, it's just
that's a very underestimated bird. Most people can't keep alive long enough, but I tell you, if you find someone that's flown one successfully, not just kept it alive, but every once in a while you hear about a guy that flew one for like 5 seasons successfully. And you're like, dude, can I look at your logbook? And they're like, I made you kill 3,700. I was like, crazy. I mean, it's like, but their metabolism's so fast, you can hunt them 3 times a day. You know, I mean, they mow through food.
Yeah. Maybe that's the bird for me.
Yeah.
Just keep going.
You need a breeding pair so you can replace them.
100%. Exactly. Speaking of breeding, I have one question. So Jason, you're breeding screech owls and burrowing owls?
Yeah. I haven't produced a lot of screeches. In fact, I haven't the last 2 seasons. These are kind of hit and miss. So, but I have, yeah. And burrowing owls, yeah.
Yeah, because it seems like screech owls are kind of like not many people are breeding them. Aaron actually breeds them as well. He has a propagation permit. I have one. He is usually sitting behind me right here.
Mm-hmm.
He is, my wife insisted, she gets irritated when I don't let him. She likes to see him out, and he has a lot of personality, so he loves to hang out with everybody in the family.
Yeah.
So he's like free lofted in the house during the evenings. And I mean, they're just the coolest little birds. I did baggies with him. I mean, he's like, I really just need to go out and just try to catch stuff with him. I just never really put much effort into it. But there's not many people that are breeding screech owls, really.
No, there's not. And again, I mainly do it for education. I'm not saying a person can't use them for falconry, but they're like a micro too. I mean, I think anybody, if they persevere with a bird, can get something out of the bird. But you know, is it worth the squeeze? What are you trying to do with it? I mean, what are you after? Again, I think a lot of their technique is they're small, but they're nocturnal. So a lot of what they catch, they're hunting by. You know, your eagles are hunting by strength. You know, beauties are hunting from a soar. The accipiters hunt from stalking. Falcons are built for speed, and then your owls are built for stealth. So each one is made to hunt differently. So I think sometimes we try to take a bird and try to fit it into a slot that it don't fit in. I'm gonna take a screech owl. I'm gonna do this with it. Well, you might, but that's not what they're made for. They're made for stealth. So if you hunt them by stealth, I mean, they can catch. I mean, definitely something their size or bigger. I mean, I remember a YouTube video years ago. A guy was taking a video of one in the snow. In fact, it was a moonlit night, so you could see it real well in the snow. It was dragging a bird across his yard, and he zooms in on it. It's a screech owl, and it was dragging a sharp-shin. It had killed a sharp-shinned hawk. It flown, but again, the sharp-shin's sleeping at night. It flies in and binds to its head. By the time the sharp-shin wakes up, it's like me sneaking up behind it with a bat. It doesn't know what happened, you know. So again, their technique is stealth. So, but they're cool little birds. I mean, you think they're bad to the bone. I know that.
No, they are. No, they definitely are. They like to kill things. I'll tell you that from personal experience.
That was what I concluded with the great horned owl when I was hunting with it, was that they hunt by stealth. You know, they're super powerful.
Oh, unbelievable.
But the stealth is gone because of me, and he didn't help with his screaming. So it was just a folly.
Yeah, I've got a female, an educational bird right now that was an imprint. Used to be used by Maryland DNR, but it got so aggressive they wanted to pass it on to a falcon. And they said, "Hey, would you take this bird?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll take it." So she's 26 this year, and mean. I'm telling you, that bird. Oh, that bird is mean. Just
what does she weigh? Out of curiosity,
she weighs right now 67 ounces. She's probably 4.5 maybe pounds. But I know this. Well, she's the only bird I've ever had that knocked me out. I mean, knocked me cold. And I'm really glad my son was there. I was actually changing her bath pan, and she'll usually just sit up in the corner and let me clean the bath, or dump it, and then I'll go clean it, come back and dump fresh water in it. And my son was standing on the outside of the chamber. He was asking me a question about a barn or a tool or something. He lives across the field too. So I said, hey, hang there a second. I gotta dump Allie's pan. Just keep an eye on her for a second. And he said, okay. So I dumped the pan, or dumped like a Rubbermaid bath pan. As soon as I dumped it, I heard him say, Dad. And I knew what it was happening. I'm not stupid. I looked up and she was in full coming at me, and I put the bath pan up in front of my face and went to shield myself, and I did, but she hit the pan, and the edge of it hit the bridge of my nose, and that's all I remember. And so when I came to, I was outside the pen, and my son said, Dad, you were talking outside your head. You're like, leave me. And I'm like, no, Dad, I'm not going to leave you. I'll get you on the battlefield, No, Dad, I'll never leave you. He like drags me out by my collar. The thing is, I change her pan all the time when he's not there. If he hadn't have been there, I probably would have woke up, and I have a double door system on her chamber. So I don't think she would have been gone, but maybe she'd have ate me. I don't know.
I think she probably would have ate you. That's like the last bird.
Now, they can hit. Well, I'll give you this. The first glove I used with her was made by a place called Falconer. It's over in the Netherlands, but it's like elk hide, 3 layers of elk hide. And she went through it into my arm. And so I'd had the glove a while, and so I needed another one. So I emailed the guy like 2 weeks go by, no response. I'm like, man, I got to get another glove for this bird. So I email him again, and he broke in English. He responds, I'm retiring. Like, I don't make gloves anymore. And so I emailed back, retiring, but not retired. I said, please make me one more. So he's like, okay, I'll make you another one. So he made me another one, but it had enough puncture holes and whatnot. She found it. And I mean, that's 3 layers of elk hide. So yeah, back to again, what we're talking about, what different birds are made, style and whatnot. To me, a female great horn is like a cinder block being dropped out of a tree. I mean, whatever they hit, it's toast. They're not made for flash. They're not made for speed. They're deadly. They're just a velociraptor, Anyway.
Yeah. Owls, that's a scary bird if they don't like you. I mean,
when I briefly had some eagle owls, and whenever I was in there changing water, I always had a swivel. So I was like, I do not want a female eagle owl hit me.
You had what?
It never happened, but I was always scared that this female eagle owl was going to hit me.
Oh yeah.
Then that would not be good.
Yeah, if you don't have a respect for them, I mean, even to this day, I've used her for education for years. Once you get her on the gloves, she'll even talk a little bit, and she's okay. But getting her there, I mean, I tell everyone that I meet when I do a program, she's the most consistent bird I had. There's never been a day that I went into chamber to get her to use her for a program that she didn't try to kill me, ever. I mean, she never just steps up. She always has to say, well, once I try to hit you, then you can get me on the fist. So, in fact, both of my sons are as tall as me. And my one boy's, in fact, he's an inch taller. He's probably 6'3". And if I tell him, hey, Ben, run into Allie's pen for me, and didn't know. He's like, listen, I'll never go in that pen. You couldn't pay me enough money. And in fact, he says, when he called me from college, he's like, how's the birds? I said, okay. Is Allie still alive? I'm like, yeah. Oh man. He's like, I can't wait till that bird dies.
Oh my God.
You never walk by her chamber where she don't hit the bars. She's just that kind of bird.
Oh, that's scary, man. That's a scary animal.
Their bite too is something you got to watch out for. Their bite is very powerful.
I tell you, the scariest part of her is if you have to go in and do a program and load them up, and it's really early in the morning, it's dark 30. You go in there, the pupils are fully dilated, so there's nothing but two black. They can see and you can't. So you're trying to think of the best way. Should I use a flashing light, or do I use this kind of light, or to try a strobe light? You try different things over the years to try the best way to go in there, but she still has the advantage. She's a hunter in the night and you're not. So you got to get her because you got to leave at a certain time. So yeah, it's always a little roll of the dice. See what's going to happen.
Jeez. Oh my goodness.
It's all right.
Well, thanks again, Jason, for coming on.
My privilege.